everybody. As promised, this is going to be one of those makeup videos for Vlogmas. We are going to get into my top 5 books that I read in 2019. I'm so pumped to do this because I love books and it was really hard to pick a top 5. These are top 5 books that I've finished, well, except for one, so scratch that. But it's just that good that I'm gonna include it anyway, even though I'll be continuing to work through it in 2020. That being said, I'm gonna go ahead and start. The very first book that I read was a book that I read as my devotional while I was studying for the bar exam at the very beginning of the year, and that is Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. And I love this so much because I was not expecting it to be as thought-provoking as it was, which I guess I should have, but I just loved it. I read it like a chapter every day, and it just gave so much clarity and inspiration and motivation and wisdom for every day that I was studying. One thing that I loved about this book is that I had heard so many quotes from it before, but reading it in context, they were that much more profound. I think probably my favorite quote in the entire book is this one that I just came across right here, and that is, "The problem is not simple, and the answer is not going to be simple either." Of course, here it's talking about like philosophy and religion and Christianity, but I think that a lot of this truth applies to so many areas of life. Oh, I wrote, love this whole page. I wonder whether people who ask God to interfere openly and directly in our world quite realize what it will be like when he does. And then I skipped down. Something so beautiful to some of us and so terrible to others that none of us will have any choice left. Something so overwhelming that it will strike either irresistible love or irresistible horror into every creature. It is 227 pages. It is 33 chapters long. So I read it for about a month, I would say. And that's how quickly I went through it when I was reading a chapter a day. Love this. And now that I've been talking about it for 5 minutes, gotta move on to another one. The next book is something that I am still reading because I literally just take a tiny section and work with it every day. I'm actually about halfway through it. It is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and this book has changed so much in my life this past year. Honestly, it's hard to even say how because I've been building these habits. Just the difference between being a dependent person or an independent person, a reactive person versus proactive. What is our response? What are we going to do? How can we exercise initiative in this situation? And just the parts that I've read are just talking about like taking responsibility instead of expecting other people to do things for you or do what you want or whatever. I love this. I just saw this quote again. But if we live like animals, out of our own instincts and conditioning and conditions, out of our collective memory, we too will be limited. And it's just a great book that teaches you how to be effective instead of living in the same ruts that you have been living in. Right now, I am working through what kind of characteristics I want my friends to have, and thereby working on what kind of characteristics of a friend that I need to be. This is something that I will be carrying into 2020, but it's definitely one of my top 5 for 2019. I adore this book. Obviously, it's my top 5, but this book is so sweet and cool, and I just love their story. It's the Magnolias story by Chip and Joanna Gaines, but I love this book. It is the story of how they met, how they fell in love, how they started flipping houses, how they started decorating. I just love the story of how like the small things turn into the big things. That's just what I loved most about this, and it was very inspiring to me to realize like everything that you go through has a reason, and you're constantly learning things that you will need for the future. I didn't take notes in this one because I just loved, it was one of those books that I just like kept reading and wanted to read every day, and when I finished reading it, I wanted to pick it up and keep reading it, but had to wait. It was one of those for me. It took me probably, I don't know, 2 weeks It wasn't long. I loved this book. This book is 182 pages, split into 15 chapters. If you read a chapter a day, that's about 2 weeks. I think that's how fast I finished it too. So good. Highly recommend. And that's what inspired me. If you didn't see my What I Got for Christmas video, that's what inspired me to get this book that I have not read yet. This next book, I'd read it before, but I read it when I was very young, and I mostly just looked at the pictures. It was In the Footsteps of Jesus, One Man's Journey Through the Life of Christ, Bruce Marchiano. He played Jesus in the Gospel according to Matthew. We had the video series when I was younger and used to watch them all the time, and it just goes through and narrates the book of Matthew and then obviously shows the scenery. But he was writing about his experience playing Jesus and how much clarity and understanding playing the role gave him into the Bible and who Jesus was and who Jesus is. He brings up so many points that I had not thought of before, and it just makes it very real, and I loved this book. I don't think I have any notes in it because I wanted to keep it a clean copy, but definitely recommend. You will not be able to think the same way about God or Jesus or the Bible after you read this book. Oh, and going along with this, it also shares like the story of how he got the role and the unlikely circumstances that led to that. It's just fascinating. So 218 pages split into 12 chapters and the introduction and the preface that are both really important to the story. So about 14 chapters equivalent. Really good. Highly recommend. The last book is not as serious. It's definitely kind of a kid's book, but it was on my reading list of like fiction and literature that I really want to read just to be like well-versed and well-rounded in my reading, and it's The Golden Goblet. I loved this book. I mean, maybe I'm basically a 12-year-old, I don't know, but I just found it so interesting. This was a book that I would limit myself to reading 30 minutes a day, and I would read for like 2 hours a day, and I wouldn't want to put it down. It did not take me very long at all to go through. This book is just so cute. I did take notes in it because I'm working on a project with it, but I gave up taking notes because I just wanted to read it and enjoy it. It's an interesting story. Whenever I put it down, I just wanted to know like what was going to happen. It was that good. If you haven't read this, even if you're not 12 years old, highly recommend. Definitely should read it. It's 248 pages, but honestly a really easy read. 16 chapters long, so did not take me that long either. It took me maybe like 2 weeks, if that, because I definitely finished it faster than I planned. But those were my top 5 books that I read in 2019. I will be honest, I struggled with reading this year. I read a lot of other devotionals this year that I really enjoyed, but these were definitely my top 5. That being said, in 2020, I want to get back into reading as much as I did, and I really want to make some more specific reading vlogs. I do have series planned for my 2020 videos. So in January, I will be going through and vlogging kind of my job searching process, talking about resumes and interviews and outfits and whatnot, and why I went to law school, why I took the bar exam, why I'm a lawyer, and all of that. So it's going to be a very interesting series, but I also do plan as I finish, for example, as I finish this book, I want to make a video talking about what I learned from it, what my favorite quotes were, how long it is, whether I recommend it or not. I'm sure I'm going to, and just kind of sharing that with you guys on a book by book basis. So that is to come in 2020. If you're interested in that, be sure to subscribe. Let me know that you are subscribing for that reason. If you're subscribing for another reason, please let me know what that is so I know what to bring for you guys in 2020. That being said, my plan is for the next week to put up the promised MBE, MPT, and MEE bar exam prep advice videos that I promised, I think it was like a month ago before I got sick, and I definitely want those to be coming out this week so that I can share that advice with you guys of how I prepared and ultimately succeeded on the bar exam, specifically in each of those areas. So that is to come. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you saw Vlogmas. If you didn't, make sure you go check it out. If you didn't see my what I got for Christmas video, go check that out. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do it. I just wanted to say thank you guys for watching this and for being part of my channel. And I look forward to all that is to come in 2020. If you are preparing for the bar exam, make sure you don't miss this coming week's videos. If you're not preparing for the bar exam, come back next week. On January 6th, I will be launching my job search, job vlog, all the things focused series. So I hope you guys will come back for that, and I will see you guys in 2020. Thanks for watching.